nightly business report.
Good evening. Tonight, today after the import embargo was lifted, Sri Lanka received its first shipment of cars from Japan in 5 years. About 300 automobiles made up the consignment when it arrived at Hambantota port. According to the island's Export Development Board, Sri Lanka's services exports increased by 37.8% year over year to reach $329.37 million in January. Building on Tuesday's trend of losses, the Colombo Stock Exchange experienced a good turnaround on the fourth trading day of the week. Notable increases were made by S&P SL20 and the All-Share Price Index. And ahead of Nvidia's quarterly results, which might set the tone for the artificial intelligence industry with their optimistic outlook, the S&P 500 closed the day little altered.
From Studio 24, here's Anuradhi Vikramasinghe.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us. Sri Lanka has received its first vehicle shipment from Japan in 5 years today, following the lifting of the import ban. The shipment, consisting of around 300 vehicles, arrived at the Hambantota port.
Sri Lanka has received its first vehicle shipment from Japan in 5 years today following the lifting of the import ban. The shipment, which contains around 300 vehicles, arrived at the Hambantota International Port. Deliveries are expected to begin soon, as confirmed by Prasad Manage, who is the president of the Vehicle Importers Association. This marks a significant milestone in the revival of the vehicle import sector. Additionally, a batch of cabs from Thailand has already arrived in the country. Plans are also underway to import over 3,000 vehicles to meet growing demand. The lifting of the ban is expected to ease the country's vehicle shortage and support the automotive industry. The move is seen as a step toward restoring normalcy in the transportation sector. It also signals improved economic recovery as its imports are set to rise.
The National Water Supply and Drainage Board has reported water supply disruptions in Colombo, Kaluthara, Ratnapura, Mathura and Kandy due to falling reservoir levels. As a result, the NWSDP is urging the public to conserve water to manage the situation effectively. The Ceylon Electricity Board has also issued a warning about rising power generation costs as thermal and fuel oil plants are being operated at high capacities. Currently, hydropower is providing 20% of electricity during the day and 40% at night. These disruptions in both water and power supply are creating challenges for the public and businesses alike. Authorities are monitoring the situation and encourage conservation efforts to minimize the impact. Sri Lanka's services exports surged by 37.8% year-on-year, reaching $329.37 million in January of last year, according to the island's Export Development Board. This growth reflects a strong recovery in the country's export sector.
Sri Lanka's services exports grew by 37.8% year-on-year, reaching $329.37 million in January last year, according to the Export Development Board. The growth was driven by a significant increase in ICT BPM earnings, which rose by 97% to $166.6 million. Construction revenue also saw a 5% rise, reaching $15.47. Financial services grew substantially to $5.1 million, up from $1.9 million. Transport and logistic exports brought in $142.2 million, marking a 3.19% increase. In addition, merchandise exports grew by 3.51%, totaling to $1,004.82 million in January. Overall, total goods and service exports were up by 10.3%, reaching $1,334.19 million. The robust performance highlights the country's growing export sector, reflecting positive economic momentum. This surge in exports offers hope for further recovery in the economy.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has issued a warning regarding the use of the term finance in business names. According to the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011, only licensed finance companies and specified institutions are permitted to use terms such as finance, financing or financial. Businesses that use these terms without prior approval from the CBSL may face legal penalties. The CBSL emphasized that adherence to this regulation is crucial to maintaining financial sector integrity. The public is urged to seek approval before incorporating these terms into their business names. Non-compliance with this directive could lead to serious legal consequences. Sri Lanka's apparel exports grew by 22.18% year-on-year in January of this year, reaching $437 million, up from $357 million a year earlier. Sri Lanka's apparel exports saw strong growth in January of 2025, rising 22.18% year-on-year to reach $437 million. Exports to the United States grew by 27.43% to $169 million, while shipments to the European Union and UK climbed 26.37% and 17.39%, reaching $129 million and $61 million respectively. Exports to other regions also increased by 9.57% to $76 million. Despite these gains, exporters face challenges from low-cost competitors with better market access, according to the Joint Apparel Association Forum. As a result, the industry remains cautiously optimistic about future growth. In 2024, Sri Lanka's apparel exports totaled approximately $4.75 billion, up from $4.5 billion in 2023. The sector is expected to play a key role in meeting the country's 2025 export target of $18.2 billion, with a revenue goal of $5.2 billion. Let's take a short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. On the fourth trading day of the week, this Colombo Stock Exchange saw a positive turnaround, building on Tuesday's momentum of losses. Both the All-Share Price Index and the S&P SL20 indices recorded notable gains. For further insights, we speak with Akna Tennakun from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. So today the stock market saw some bargain buying which pushed the ASPI towards a mild recovery compared to what we saw in the previous trading session. The ASPI ended the day in the green at 16,430, registering an increase of about 86 points. However, some volatility was also evident in the index today. While the SPI climbed up during the early hours of today's session, we saw the index dwindle across midday. But the index rebounded during the late hours of the session and concluded the day on a positive note. In terms of contribution to ASPI, Selinco Holdings stood out as the top positive contributor, followed by LOLC and Commercial Bank. On the flip side, John Keel's Holdings, Melster Corp and First Capital Holdings emerged as the top three negative contributors. Today's session saw subdued investor participation with turnover reducing to 1.7 billion rupees. This is lower than the turnover levels seen in the last session as well as the monthly average which hovers around the 5 billion mark. So if I talk a little bit about the contribution to turnover, the capital goods sector took the lead with a contribution of about 22%. This was followed by the banking and material sectors which produced a joint contribution of about 40%. Thank you.
Sri Lanka has successfully sold 27.5 billion rupees in 2029 and 2032 bonds, according to the State Debt Office. The bonds were sold at an average yield of 10.63% for the 2029 bond and 11.41% for the 2032 bond. Both bonds are available on tap. For further insights, we speak with Anjali Matthews from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. So today's bond auction saw increased levels of demand and buying interest on the 2029 and 2032 maturities, which were both fully accepted, as the Central Bank of Sri Lanka raised a total of rupees 27.5 billion. So the 2029 maturity was fully accepted, where rupees 15 billion was accepted from the total bids received of rupees 72.6 billion. The 15/6/29 bond closed at a weighted average yield rate of 10.63%. And additionally, the 2032 maturity was also fully accepted, where rupees 12.5 billion was accepted, from which the total bids received were rupees 52.8 billion. The 15/12/2032 bond closed at a weighted average yield rate of 11.41%. So Tuesday's secondary market saw moderate trading volumes as investors adopted a cautious approach following the bill auction, where rates saw a decline across the board. And amongst the traded maturities, the notable trades occurred amongst the 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030 maturities.
Gold prices fell in Asian trade today, retreating further from record highs due to pressure from a stronger dollar. Spot gold dropped by 0.9% to $2,890.73 per ounce, while gold futures expiring in April also fell by 0.9% to $2,903.39 per ounce. The decline followed a wave of profit-taking after the precious metal reached record highs earlier this week. Despite the pullback, concerns over increased trade tariffs and a cooling U.S. economy continue to support safe haven demand for gold. Additionally, reports of a potential U.S. brokered peace deal between Russia and Ukraine weakened some of this demand. Broader metal prices were also pressured by a stronger dollar, which was poised to post mild weekly gains after recovering from a 2.5-month low. Oil prices edged up in Asian trading today, recovering slightly from a 2-month low reached in the previous session. Investors were assessing the impact of fresh tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump, along with a mixed U.S. inventory report. Brent oil futures rose by 0.3% to $72.77 per barrel, while crude oil WTI futures expiring in March gained 0.4%, reaching $68.53 per barrel. The U.S. Energy Information Administration released its weekly report data yesterday, highlighting a complex balance between supply and demand factors in the oil market. The report presented a nuanced view of current market conditions, adding to market uncertainty. Traders are keeping a close eye on these developments as they weigh potential impacts on oil prices. The Sri Lankan rupee has strengthened further against the US dollar today, building on gains from Tuesday. According to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the buying rate of the US dollar has slightly decreased, while the selling rate has also shown a decline. Let's take a closer look at how the Sri Lankan rupee is performing against other major global currencies. A short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back. Sri Lanka's first Shell-branded fuel station has officially opened at BS Kure filling station in Ambatale. This marks a significant milestone in the country's fuel retailing sector. The new station is expected to enhance customer experience with high-quality fuel and services.
The first Shell-branded fuel station has officially opened at the BS Kure filling station in Ambatale, marking a major milestone in Sri Lanka's fuel retailing industry. This development follows the signing of a retail brand license agreement between Shell Brands International AG and RM Parks Private Limited. In March last year, Shell and RM Parks affiliates also signed a product supply agreement to ensure seamless fuel supply. RM Parks Private Limited is a partnership between TriStar Group, a fully integrated energy logistics business, and RM Parks, an experienced distributor of Shell fuels in North America. The company will rebrand 150 retail fuel stations across the country to Shell under a 20-year contract awarded by the Sri Lanka Ministry of Petroleum and Energy in 2023. This agreement aims to modernize and enhance the quality of fuel retail services across the country. The rebranding initiative is expected to contribute significantly to the country's energy sector while ensuring customers have access to reliable and high-quality fuel.
Alliance Finance Company plc has announced the successful oversubscription of its green bond issuance, reflecting strong investor confidence. The bond received an A- rating from Lanka Rating Agency Limited, reinforcing the company's financial strength and credibility. This milestone highlights AFC's leadership in Sri Lanka's green finance sector and its commitment to sustainable development. The rating underscores AFC's solid financial foundation and its ongoing efforts to integrate sustainability into its business model. Managing Director Romani De Silva expressed pride in the achievement, noting it marks a significant step towards a greener future. Dr. Kenneth De Silva, the CEO of Lanka Rating Agency, emphasized the importance of this development in advancing Sri Lanka's green finance market and encouraging other institutions to consider sustainable financing. Sri Lankan Airlines reported a pre-tax loss of 1.96 billion rupees for the 7 months ended October last year, reversing a profit of 4.13 billion rupees in the same period last year. Sri Lankan Airlines has experienced a downturn with a 14.9% decline in net traffic revenue, dropping to 152.32 billion rupees from 178.82 billion rupees a year earlier. The government, which had previously considered restructuring and privatizing the state-owned airline, now aims to explore alternative models to support the carrier without resorting to privatization. This decision comes due to the airline's significant contribution to the national economy. To alleviate financial pressure, the government injected 9.8 billion rupees in equity in 2024 and allocated 20 billion rupees in the 2025 budget to repay legacy debt, with 10 billion rupees earmarked for loan capital repayment and 10 billion rupees for interest payments. President Anurakumar Dissanayake, in presenting the 2025 budget, emphasized that the airline would need to achieve operating profitability once its legacy debt is cleared. The airline is also in the process of appointing a new chief executive officer. Additionally, a group of investors holding 50% of a sovereign guaranteed bond issued by Sri Lankan Airlines in 2019 has engaged the law firm Atkin Grum Strauss Howe and Felt for legal assistance. The HIMARS Slingshot Accelerator, powered by Hatch, recently concluded its second cohort day with a demo day highlighting some of Sri Lanka's most promising startups in EdTech, HealthTech and FMCG. Wheelchair House, a startup focused on customized enabling equipment, emerged as the winner, while Exam Hub, a popular platform for gamified education, secured the runner-up position. Chief Strategy and Growth Officer of HIMARS Holdings PLC, Rizni Faisal, emphasized the program's commitment to fostering innovation and empowering Sri Lankan entrepreneurs. Slingshot 2.0 provided participants with mentorship and industry insights, helping them scale their businesses and refine their growth strategies. The event attracted investors, corporate leaders and key players from Sri Lanka's startup ecosystem, creating new growth opportunities for the finalists. Mevan Piri, CEO of Hatch, called for greater corporate involvement in supporting Sri Lanka's startup ecosystem, citing India's success as an example. Marks Cross-Border Payments Limited is celebrating its 5th anniversary, marking a significant milestone in its journey as a leading fintech company. Marks Cross-Border Payments has played a pivotal role in revolutionizing cross-border transactions and digital payments in Sri Lanka.
Marks Cross-Border Payments Private Limited is celebrating its 5th anniversary, marking a significant milestone in the company's journey toward revolutionized cross-border transaction and digital payments in Sri Lanka. The company focuses on providing seamless, secure and cost-effective international transactions, aligning with the country's growing digital economy. In the support of government's push to fintech innovation and digital payments, Marks Cross-Border Payments has enhanced financial inclusion and operational efficiency. The company's all-in-one POS solution integrates 8 local and international payment methods, enabling businesses to operate more efficiently. This innovative solution can be deployed on any iOS or Android device, transforming a mobile phone into a powerful sales system. Additionally, an AI-driven cross-border loyalty system rewards consumers with cashback and discounts, promoting the shift towards digital transactions. Marks Cross-Border Payments aims to accelerate Sri Lanka's digital adoption and contribute to the creation of cashless society.
The Federation of Information Technology Limited, the apex association representing Sri Lanka's ICT industry, is organizing a regional Infotel event in Kandy. The event, scheduled for the 7th and 8th of March of this year at the Kandy City Centre, will focus on ICT vendors, consumers, professionals, students and micro, small and medium entrepreneurs in the Kandy, Martale, Nuwara and Kurunegala districts. FETIS works closely with the Sri Lankan government to promote digital technologies and expand the country's digital economy to $15 billion by 2030. ESOF Metro Campus has partnered with FETIS as the strategic partner for Infotel Kandy. The event aims to strengthen the local ICT industry and raise awareness about the benefits of digital technologies. FETIS continues to play a key role in supporting the development of Sri Lanka's ICT sector. Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the nightly business report. Most Asian stocks edged lower today, with Hong Kong shares sliding from a 3-year high after US President Donald Trump threatened to impose more global trade tariffs. Despite positive earnings from Nvidia, technology stocks struggled to gain momentum. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 0.6% following some profit-taking after a strong AI-driven rally in recent weeks. Japan's Topix rose 0.5%, although retail giant 7&I Holdings saw a 10% drop after a privatization deal collapsed. Mainland Chinese stocks also retreated, with the Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite indexes falling by 0.3% and 0.5% respectively. Meanwhile, Australia's ASX 200 rose 0.4%, supported by strong earnings from Qantas Airways and Coles Group, despite weak fourth quarter capital expenditure data. The S&P 500, meanwhile, ended little changed ahead of quarterly results from Nvidia, whose positive outlook could set the tone for the artificial intelligence sector.
The S&P 500 ended little changed on Wednesday ahead of Nvidia's highly anticipated quarterly earnings, while the Dow dropped less than 0.5% and the Nasdaq ticked up modestly. Reporting after the market close, AI chip leader Nvidia forecast first quarter revenue above Wall Street estimates. But the company's outlook for its gross margin in the current quarter was slightly lower than expected, with the ramp-up of Nvidia's premium Blackwell chip weighing on profits. Nvidia's shares, which closed up 3.7%, were choppy in extended trading before gaining more than 1%. Other stocks on the move Wednesday included Intuit, which gained about 12.5% after the TurboTax maker forecast third quarter revenue above Wall Street estimates. And cloud analytics firm Snowflake forecast fiscal 2026 product revenue above analysts' estimates, sending its shares, which closed slightly higher, soaring more than 11% in extended trading. Meanwhile, President Trump on Wednesday said his administration will soon announce a 25% tariff on imports from the European Union. He also indicated that steep new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada may be paused until April 2nd, about a month later than next week's deadline.
Tesla is worth less than $1 trillion for the first time since November. Stock in the EV firm tumbles 8% after new figures showed its sales have slumped in Europe in January.
Tesla is worth less than $1 trillion for the first time since November. Stock in the EV firm tumbled 8% Tuesday after new figures showed its sales have slumped in Europe. Shipments in the region were down 45% in January, even as the overall market for electric cars there jumped by more than a third. For analysts, there's one big question. Is boss Elon Musk's close and, for some, controversial alliance with Donald Trump putting off buyers? The pair often appear together, and Musk is leading the new president's bid to slash billions in government spending. Recent weeks have also seen the Tesla billionaire accused of making a Nazi-like salute on stage and of seeking to boost a far-right party in Germany's election. Some investors also worry that Musk simply isn't spending enough time at his firms, distracted by his cost-cutting efforts for Trump. Other factors might explain the slide in sales, however. Tesla's best-selling car, the Model Y crossover, has recently had an update, and buyers may have been waiting for the new version. Much of the rest of its lineup looks increasingly aged, with investors left waiting for long-promised new models. The company also faces mounting competition from Chinese and European rivals. They have increasingly introduced new models that challenge Tesla on performance or price. Now Tesla's stock is down by around a quarter this year, but it's still a very valuable company. With a market capitalization of about $981 billion, it's worth more than twice the combined value of General Motors, Ford, VW, Toyota, Hyundai, and BMW.
So that's all we have for you tonight on the Nightly Business Report. For today, we'll see you again tomorrow with the latest updates across the business globe. Till then, I'm Anuradhi Vikram Singha. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.